Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up the podcast, all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Adel.
Hey!
And Lucy. Did you say hey? Oh, hi, hi. The audio cut out at exactly the wrong time. And perfectly. I saw the mouth move, but nothing came. Let's open up some beers. It's been a hot day. It's definitely time to sink something back. Adel, what are you going to drink this week?
I've got the new Brewgooder Cold IPA.
Oh, okay.
So we had Brewgooder on ages ago, right?
Years ago, yeah.
And so I'll just read the whole thing. Brewed on purpose. At Brewgooder, we believe beer can be a force for good. That's why since 2016, every single one of our beers has been brewed on purpose to empower the lives of others. Discover your unique impact and join our People Plus community of drinkers. Scan the QR code. I didn't do that. But basically, they do a lot of water projects across the world.
Yep.
I think the first run of them was... I'm not going to remember where it was, and I'm not going to guess. It was freshwater projects. Insert extra thing here, editor. Won't happen.
It was time for that.
Our cold IPA, an easy drinking cold IPA brewed with West Coast hops, bursting with citrus zest and balanced against a light maltiness for a very crisp and fresh finish. This beer makes waves with every can, supporting people and community projects around the world. 5.5%, 330ml can, and it's they're B Corp certified. So,
nice. Okay, cool. Not an easy thing to get.
Nope.
Takes a long time.
I actually don't
process.
know what that means.
It's I should tell you exactly what it means because we're currently discussing there's a company becoming B Corp certified as well. Basically, you're lovely people, sustainable as shit, and you play like living wages. You do all the lovely things and take care of everybody and stuff.
Nice.
There's a lot more to it than that. But yeah, it's good. It's good. Lots of companies are becoming B Corp certified. Lucy.
Yeah.
What are you drinking this evening?
I am going back to the well and I'm drinking a Deya
Nice.
called Crickley Echoes. It's a 440ml can, 5.1%. Got their nice little crocodile that we know and love on it. Or is it an alligator? Questions.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, it's probably not.
I'm annoyed I haven't thought about it.
We need to see it in comparison to alligator / crocodile, so you see if it's bigger or smaller than the other one. Anyway,
What's the other one? Cayman. Is that an alligator or a crocodile, or is that just a third species?
It's a small
is it an alligator?
Or no, small alligator.
Anyway, the beer.
Anyway, yeah. This beer displays an alternate expression of the strawberries used to make Crickley Hill cider.
Don't know.
What is Crickley Hill?
Not sure. Something to do with Noel Edmonds.
What? Don't evoke his name on here. No, I'm afraid of Mr. Blobby. Crickley Hill. It just says just a nature trail in the Gloucestershire countryside.
Oh.
Okay. Maybe you can do strawberry picking there. Anyway, true to type but more nuanced. The primary sweetness is reduced and a more delicate floral aroma. No, sorry. The primary sweetness is reduced and more delicate floral aromas are opened up. The tiniest bit of oak character keeps the palate rounded and in balance.
Okay.
What style of beer is it then?
Pale?
Doesn't actually say what style it is though. It just, I'm guessing it's an IPA or something like that, 5.1%.
Maybe.
The way they
probably
described it, but be anything.
It's true.
It could be a sour beer.
Exactly. You open it, it's green, or a little hint of red to it, or something.
Yeah.
That's way worse.
Cool. Get it open and see what's going on.
I'll see what style it is.
I have a panic. It's not a panic buy beer. at all. I'm sure it's going to be lovely. But I went for a meeting today in a coffee shop which is associated with the brewery here in Bristol, and they had these in the fridge. So I brought a beer which is a Fierce and Noble beer. This is the Stardust Galaxy Pale. It is 4.4%. Little bit of flavour text. So the hops are Galaxy. A hearty dose of Galaxy hops provide this hazy pale ale with a punchy tropical fruit aroma. A beer that's truly out of this world. That's it. Very, very simple. Just a very small amount of information on the back. I haven't had a Fierce and Noble beer for a long time. It's not even like last year or 2 years. It must be about 3 or 4 years at least since I've had a beer by them. So
I almost only had them when I went to the Grounded Cafe chain in Bristol, because that was their like tap beers.
Yes, but they're owned by the same parent company, I think. Yeah,
and they were in like other places, but there was always more juicy, interesting local craft beer in the other places. So I'm similar.
Yeah. Let's roll back round, Addo. The beer.
It poured the cold IPA from Brewgooder. Poured quite big head. Still, a couple minutes later, it's still slowly dying. It's got a light haze, but actually, I think the light makes it look darker and hazier. It's actually quite light, almost lemony, more in color than it looks here. It looks like orange on screen, I think. You can see how clear it is just because you can actually probably count my fingers I'm holding. Even though, again, I think the lighting is throwing it off.
Well, I'm drunk, so it's double the fingers.
Well, it's got this citrus zest. I would say, again, close to lemon, but not the tartness. Oh, that is super refreshing. This is exactly what I want. So, 3 of us bought bikes in Newcastle on a bit of a whim on the weekend and went back to pick them up and had the plan of riding the hour bike ride back, but because of meetings and timing, but also it was fucking hot, we took it on the train. But still, the ride back from the train station was enough to be like, I want a beer. And this is exactly the type of beer I wanted. It's like crisp. It's got a citrus hit. It's an IPA in that it's got hops going on, but it's quite light, refreshing. And it's balanced with so that citrus that zestiness is there the whole time, and then it's balanced with right after the foretaste you get this maltiness, but by the finish it's kind of gone, so you're left with this slightly sweet and zesty lingering finish. And then when that fades, you notice the sort of more bittering hops that have just been there the whole time, but just are really, really reserved. So, like, if you drank this quickly, you might not even notice that sort of hoppy bitterness because it's so light, and it's only when that, like, zestiness fades that you notice it, which means you could just, sit in a park or in the sun and just throw it back and be like, I would like 3 more of these, please.
Nice. I think that's something that
really good, and
it's something Brewgooder do incredibly well.
Yeah, I was just saying, they're on the tin it says fresh and breezy, and I think that's a really good way of describing it.
Yeah.
So don't listen to me. Just read the tin. I'm being superfluous.
I mean, what I remember from Brewgooder is that just have that really clean, refreshing taste to them. So I could do with that.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I did just have a quick Google about cold IPA because they've been about for a small amount of time, but I never really know what it is. And a quick Google, if you go to hopculture.com, there is a quote.
Fermented or something.
Yeah.
Like
so a cold IPA is an IPA fermented at lower temperatures than what is normally used to ferment an ale. It also says because of that colder temperature, brewers often use a lager yeast or a combination of lager and ale yeasts. That's from a quote from someone at Weldworks Brewing Co., which I assume are an American brewer. I think hop culture is an American site. But it's something that was pioneered by Wayfinder over in the States in 2017, 2018. So, here you go.
Oh. Yeah, so SierraNevadas.com says Cold IPA delivers IPA hop intensity while keeping the malt character restrained and ultra crisp, yet still hitting a respectable ABV target.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be kind of exactly what this is. It tastes like an IPA, but the malts are much more in the back end, and gets this crispness as a result.
Okay.
Great. I like this is definitely now a contender for if I can have Sixers around that as a summer sort of out in the park or like take to a party kind of.
Nice.
It's going to be really hard to have someone really dislike it unless they don't like beer or like any notion of taste in their beer that's not like slightly nutty lager.
Yeah, fair. Lucy.
Peasants. You don't invite them to the party. Just don't.
Like, here's a bit like, no, thank you. Like, leave, please. Lucy, we'll come to you for
leave
the
it,
day.
Clara.
It's definitely a sour.
I had a quick look on Deya's shop. They just say it's a mixed fermentation beer.
Oh, nice. Don't expect that in a can. I took it out of the fridge probably about 40 minutes ago because I was thinking, I just had in my mind that it was an IPA. I didn't even read it. I was just thinking, I'll let it warm up. But no, it's still poured very vigorously, very effervescently. Oh, I love cats. It's so good. Apart from the cat that's round here, she haunts me. I do like her, but she haunts me. Like every time I step outside, she just runs in the house. She's not hungry. She doesn't want any attention or anything. She has this weird tick where she just needs to rub up against everything in the house. Like a few times, does the rounds, and then she walks back
She
out.
leaves again. Nice. Like, are you waking up at night, looking out your window, and she's just staring through the window at you?
That would
I'm coming for you, Lucy. I'm kind of rub myself all up against you.
I'd have to move. That's a bit too close. That's too creepy. But anyway, yes, the sour. I mean, I could tell it was a sour as soon as I cracked it open because it smelled like a sour. You know, the unmistakable citrus, you know, the Brettanomyces being fancy and technical. That funk. Smells good, though.
Good. Looks very, very clean.
And it is. And, like, really, really clean on the end as well. I don't know if that's because it's been sitting out, it's lost maybe a little bit of carbonation, a bit of fizz, but yeah, it's really clean on the end. It's got like a weird, almost malty finish on the end. That's really quite malty on the end, which is not what I would have expected.
Okay.
But it's nice. This is like, it feels like a slightly pared back sour at the end. At the start, it is just like lemony sherbet, like kind of sourness, tartness. But at the end, it tailors off quite quickly, so it doesn't leave your mouth puckered or tart or anything like that. It is really clean. It's refreshing.
Nice.
And it's
again the kind of thing you want when it's this sort of heat.
Definitely getting those floral notes. I think that's paired with that maltiness on the end as well. That's really nice.
Good.
Let me just drink it at the can. Yeah. Well, they said on the can the oak character. I think that's maybe what I'm getting at the end. Tastes like malty, oaky, slightly earthy kind of taste. That is really interesting. So what did they just described it as a mixed firm beer on their site?
Let me bring it back. Yeah, just mixed fermentation. On the website, it just says this beer displays an alternate expression of the strawberries used to make Crickley Hill. True to type but more nuanced, the primary sweetness is reduced to a delicate floral aromas that are opened up. The tiniest bit of oak character keeps the palate rounded and in balance, which I think is the same as you read out from the can.
Yeah,
So they give you no more information online.
And yeah, I mean, that's what it says on the tin. It really is rounded out by that, that oaky character at the end, like just stifling that sourness, so it's not too, in your face.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. I'm just because they do their mixed firm beers, but they're usually in bottles, and they're usually like 500 ml and cost a packet. So it's like, or 750 ml and cost quite a lot. So yeah, interesting to see it in cans. This is really good. Like, I'm glad they stealth slipped this somewhere where it's like, oh, I thought it was an IPA. Didn't know it was an IPA. But yeah, perfect for this heat. Good.
Nice.
This is what I want more from Deya.
Okay.
Like, I feel like they've sort of plateaued with their IPAs and pale ales and stuff like that. But I want to go to their mixed firm tap room, and I want to try more of their mixed firm beers because I obviously know what they're doing. So yeah, I hope they start shipping more of these beers around and about.
Good.
And it's in this is 440, isn't it? Yeah. So they usually do 500 ml cans. So yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, yeah. They do usually do 500 ml, isn't it?
They used to. I don't know whether they've changed completely. I'm not sure. Deya. Go back to their site. If I look at Steady Rolling Mans,
like that.
yeah.
That's all 500 ml cans.
Yeah, 500 ml.
Interesting.
Kinetic Sand Dipper. I wonder if that's a newer beer. That doesn't tell me how big it is. Yes, that says 500 ml / 440 ml as a category.
Oh, okay.
So I don't actually know how that comes. Maybe they're just experimenting a little bit with a few changes to things. So cool.
Time to go to Cheltenham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just need the trains to be running.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and not capsized on the side of the tracks. Yeah.
I was going to wait to drink this Fierce and Noble, but you lot spoke too long, so I've started drinking. The nose cracked quite big, nice and tropical, sort of fruit, bit of mango. It was the main sort of punch in the nose, but kind of something in the back as well, which is maybe a little bit more sour than a sort of a fruity tropical fruit. And whether that is maybe something that is maybe not stone fruit, but maybe something like incredibly ripe in there as well on the nose. But it comes off quite big and it fades quite quickly. So by the time, Lucy, you were talking about your beer, the nose had subsided quite a lot in that. It didn't pour with a massive head, but it is nice and hazy for a pale ale. A little bit orange as well. But flavour-wise, it follows the nose quite well, but it's quite dialed back. So the nose, when you crack it, it's quite big. The flavour's a little bit not lacking, but it's not as big as the nose was. And again, it's only a 440. It's only a pale, so you expect something maybe a little bit kind of lighter. But it's not doing much. It's giving me a little bit of those tropical fruit notes. A little bit of mango that you can kind of taste towards the back of the palate. Maybe a touch of pineapple as well. But that, again, pineapple tends to come across quite orangey when it's mixed with a few other kind of fruits. But there's definitely that kind of something that wants to be a little bit sweeter just pushing through as well. But the mango, that kind of slightly riper mango is just pulling it back a little bit, but it goes back very easily. There's a an incredibly light bitterness on the back. It's not dry. It's really wet, so everything kind of sticks around with the flavour. Whilst it's not big, it lasts quite a reasonable amount. But very serviceable, very easy. It would have been, I think, nice to try this like maybe on tap, perhaps, rather than sort of from a can. I think this would translate across that little bit better. Might have come across a little bit more crisp on draft than coming out of the can, which it kind of needs. It needs just a little bit of a punch to it to make it stand out, I think. But as I say, nice and serviceable. It tastes good. And I think I would look for it from this initial flavour if I saw it on draft somewhere. But you don't get many Galaxy sort of single hop beers, and maybe this is why. Maybe it can't quite carry a depth of flavour that much. It'd be interesting to know what the other ingredients were and the yeast and stuff was, to know what that combination actually is. But yeah, we'll see how it sits for the rest of the episode. But we'll launch into games, shall we? As I've been saying to the two of you, there's a lot to talk about, and you just shook your heads at me massively. But I feel there's a lot to talk about. I don't know whether it's because I've just had a little bit of extra time that I've played a reasonable amount of stuff, or last week we talked about kind of E3 and the beer festival, so a week of not talking about games, and we had a week off as well. So actually, it's been a little while since we talked about anything that we've kind of played. But
I played a game. I finished the game.
Ooh!
Oh wow!
Peppa Pig.
What?
For Xbox.
What? No. Peppa Pig on Xbox?
No.
For Xbox rewards points.
I didn't.
Infuriating.
No.
Oh no, Lucy. What made you finish it?
Wait, was it?
To get the achievements.
Oh no, Lucy, you've gone back to Chivo hunting?
Well, it's for rewards points because I was running low. I was running low this month for the Game Pass to reset. So I was like, I gotta be disciplined. I gotta do the Peppa Pig game every day, and I did, and it's finished now. And that was
there
time I'll never get back.
I was gonna say, was there any joy in it at all, or is it more like just
the joy
doing a
was
job?
Listening to the guy who did the achievement guide. Basically berating how awful this game is. That was where the enjoyment was. Because it's just, I can't believe I'm going to talk about the Peppa Pig
Do it.
game.
You got 2 minutes.
I mean,
sell us or don't sell us the Peppa Pig game.
It's
Yeah, no, Lucy,
yeah.
no spoilers.
I won't say anything about the game, just apart from it. The most infuriating part is you're basically Peppa Pig's friend, and you're going to all these different places with Peppa Pig, like the school play group or the museum or something. And every time you get in the Peppa Pig car with the family, there's a there's a random. It's RNG. I had to freight it RNGs whether you basically drive into, well, you're not actually driving into, you basically come across this construction work, and it's like the same dialogue every single time.
Is Mr. Bull digging up the road?
Construction work.
Yeah.
Yes. Just drive around,
Oh,
and it's just like this cutscene that just plays, and you can't skip any of the dialogue or any of the cutscenes. And it's just infuriating.
No.
But
is Peppa Pig just as belligerent in the game as she is in the TV show?
yes, she's like, let's go.
Her parents are like, "Come on, Peppa, we're going to do this," and she's like, "No, Daddy, I'm going to do this." And she's such a cunt.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah. And then she just every now and then just interrupts, and it's like everything freezes for a second. Peppa's like, "This is my house," and it's like, "I know, we've been here 7 times," and it's. It's
also obviously your house. You're the star of the game.
Yeah. It's
I'm glad they've made
it's
it
something.
true to the show then.
Yes, they really have. Did any of you lot see that? In I don't think it's this game. Maybe in another Peppa Pig game they made, where it was like they met the Queen or something, and then it was like R.I.P. to Queen Elizabeth in the middle of the game, and it was
Brilliant.
What?
just bizarre. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, Evelyn is getting more and more into playing games. I'm trying to hold
Don't let her
off from
play
Peppa
this.
Pig for as long as possible. She's played some Paw Patrol
It would
games and
annoy
stuff like
her.
that, but
Yeah, it would annoy any child, I think. Because children have short attention spans, and
yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
let's
no.
move on.
no. Okay, I
No,
mean,
I want more. What is it a puzzle game? What is the game?
I don't even know what it is. I
like
don't know what you'd
is it a
classify it
point
as.
and
It's not an
click?
adventure game. No, you just
Is it like
click
a
A,
click game?
and yeah, it's a click game where you press A, and you and Peppa Pig interact with something in the Peppa Pig universe, like a tree or a kite, and then just watch the cutscene play, and then
Right. Okay. Yeah. As simple as possible, essentially.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not. It's just a press A to advance game.
Yes,
Cool.
and
Oh,
thank
so
God for
like a visual novel
yeah,
without choices?
I guess. Yeah, yeah, yes,
Just
yes.
a visual picture book.
Basically, yes. And thank God for quick resume, because if you cancel out of the game, you literally have to go back to Peppa Pig's house and then do all the things
Shit.
over again. So you
Boo.
keep
how
the
long was
game
it?
running. Oh, I don't know. I played it over however many. There were 11 achievements. So I played it over the course of 11 days to get my rewards.
Lucy, can we
Yes.
look up your time played on Peppa Pig?
Yeah, go for it.
Can we get that stat? No, I mean saying, can you?
It's probably me.
I don't know.
It's probably like 11 hours, because 10 of it is me idle, like just
Yeah.
passed out about how boring it is, how excruciating it is. So, yeah.
Oh no.
I'll do that for you now.
God,
Please do.
you have a look, Lucy. I will introduce you to the game that I've been playing, because I think if you want something similar, but from your description much better,
Okay.
then
You're not selling it.
then play similar in that it is kind of a bit of a point and clicky kind of adventure game. It's not. I mean, it's not quite point and click. It's kind of wander around and click. But I've been playing Dordogne, which is
I played a bit of that. Yeah.
oh, you have played a bit. Okay, cool. It's
started it,
it's
yeah.
very, very good. I'm enjoying it a lot. It is kind of a story about it splits between two time frames. One where you're the same character between the two different time frames, and one is the older self walking around her grandmother's house trying to remember stuff, and it kicks back into that time when she was a kid, and she summer vacationed with her grandmother on the Dordogne, which is a river. It's all it's very French in its kind of context and architecture and sort of mannerisms and those kind of things. And even in its art, it's got a little bit of Ghibli to it. So the characters are a little bit Ghibli-esque, but it's a beautifully watercoloured game. And one of the things that is really good about this is the animations. So there's a part where you go down the river and you get to a little beach and you can kind of go swimming. And to do that, you the character has to change into a swimsuit. And she can jump into it, which basically jumps into a bush. And you see the clothes flying everywhere, and then she like leaps out of it in her swimsuit, or the reverse. Or you run around the cliff and she will jump off the rock into the water and gets changed kind of on the way, sort of thing. And that's those small little touches which really kind of pull you into this, as well as this coming of age kind of story, this relationship between this grandmother and the daughter, understanding why the grandmother and the dad, the girl's dad, kind of don't speak very much anymore, and it kind of unfolds. But it also unfolds for the kind of it's unfolding for you, but it's unfolding for the girl in the sort of present day as well, as she's sort of remembering more and more. And it's just a lovely little narrative adventure game with a beautiful art style and very, as I say, very good animation. And it's kind of quite gripping in that the sort of the chapters as such are quite short. So you're not playing a huge amount before the story is kind of moving along. You know, again, it's not a point and click. You're not pixel hunting for various things. You're not looking too hard to solve certain puzzles. But there are a few things. It almost feels like it's made for touchscreen. I'm playing it on Steam, but a lot of stuff, you're with a control pad, you're kind of holding a button down and then moving the analog stick, and it might be rotating it round to turn a key, or holding it down and pushing it forward to open a door. Feels like this should be more touch control than it is. And I don't know whether it's on mobile as well, or whether there's a plan for it to be for those controls to translate over quite easily.
Because when it started out, I thought it would have more of those tactile like puzzles in it, but so far I haven't found that there's many. And I thought it'd be a bit more. Oh gosh, what's that name of that game? From the Us Two, who made
Monument Valley.
Yeah. On Apple Arcade. I'm looking it up. Us Two. I think it's them. For God's sake, is it them who made it? I'm sure it is. Anyway, it's about. Basically, it's this game where you're basically fixing like people's old contraptions and devices, like, you know,
assemble with care
and stuff like that. That's the one, assemble with care. So I thought it'd be a bit more like that, like more.
Yeah,
you know, I thought she was
absolutely
like a
get what you mean.
handy person, like gonna fix up her grandmother's house. You know, as soon as she had like the screwdriver, but it doesn't seem to be that. As you say, it very much seems to be. The narrative is taking center stage, and the puzzles are just like, you know, ushering you along, just something to do whilst you uncover this story. But yeah, the central theme of why her dad fell out with his mom is interesting, and I'm not too far into it. I think I've just got to the marketplace, so
okay, cool.
Probably like the 3rd or 4th chapter or something like that. So. But yeah, I am enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge amount further than that. I've only played about 2.5 hours, I would say, but I'm a couple of chapters on from that. Not a huge amount, but yeah.
So you're 33 minutes short of how much I played of Peppa Pig, which is 3 hours and 3 minutes.
I'm glad it was only that amount.
Some would say 3 hours too long.
The 3 minutes would have done.
But hold on, I'm ranked 2 of 10 of my friends who have played.
Oh wow!
Oh, who? Wait, who? What friend? You got to name and shame the one person.
I mean, maybe it's someone with a child potentially.
No, it doesn't matter. Name and shame. It's an awful game. It sounds like.
I don't know how to do that. Oh, here we go. Oh, someone played it for 7 hours and 42 minutes.
Definitely a child.
I don't think so.
Or like left it on trying to get Chivos.
Potentially.
Yeah, definitely Achievement Hunter, because they got 239,000 game score, which is nothing to my 265,000.
I think mine's like 17.
I mean, mine's like 4.
Yeah.
Not even 1,000, just 4.
Yeah.
I meant 17. Yeah.
One thing I will say for Dordogne is talking about those animations and that kind of thing. There is a little bit of a kind of like collectible element to it as well, where the character fills out a scrapbook as she progresses through the chapters, and the scrapbook is made up of stickers that you find, of audio recordings that you make, of photos that you take, of words that you find kind of in the environment as well. And the kind of the little collectible bit about it is really nice, because you will see, you might pick up something that's kind of highlighted as you're moving around the environment, and the character picks it up off the ground, and if it's a sticker, it presents this kind of packet in front of you, and the animation is just the packet tears and then the sticker pops out of it. And it's little things like that. It's just like nice little animation touches to this, which kind of think like, oh, I found a sticker. Amazing. Because you get that rip of the packet and that extra step rather than just sticker.
Yeah.
It's just that extra little bit that really kind of draws you in.
I like finding stickers, but there seems to be a trend in games nowadays where journaling is like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care for it. I really don't. I'm not expressive or creative or self-referential. Like, it's just like, I don't want to do no journaling. Like, how do you feel about this mechanic then? Because it's like in season, it was in season.
I was going to say, I was just about to bring up season. I liked it in season because it related much more to the narrative. You were having to fill things out within the book, and it was very easy to be like, oh, cool, I've got this thing to find, or this just fills out kind of thing. As I'm sort of, you have to place it, but it's like, cool, I have this. Whereas in Dordogne, it feels like it could just not be part of it.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't matter if it was there or not. At least that's how I don't know whether you get to the end and you flip through your pages, but it's quite limited in what you can put on those pages. Basically, you pick a sticker and that's what goes on. You can't pick all 12 stickers that you've found, potentially, and put them on. Whereas season, you could fill the page with everything that you found, and it would all be overlaid. You could take tons of photos and put them all in. And the whole idea was that the character was journaling as they travelled through the environment. The idea was to fill the book up. Whereas the Dordogne, it's a little bit of a narrative hook, but not a massive one. So it feels like they could have told this story without that element. They just wanted something slightly more interactive, I guess, like collecting the stickers and those kinds of things, to add a bit more of a runtime to it, I guess, rather than it just being a visual novel, essentially.
It's the interactivity that I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care where I put this sticker here or this picture here or whatever. What I like is like in like Life is Strange, where it was, as when you progress through the story, the journal would or diary would just autofill, and you could go read that and see extra inner monologues from like the characters and stuff like that, or like if found or something. I think that was that. Don't want to spoil it, but that integrated like sort of a way you're writing or erasing a diary and adding entries into it. That did it in a really interesting way. But I don't need to put my own stickers in the book. Just do it for me, please.
It might be that it's trying to be quite broad in its appeal to people, because again, it adds that little bit of interactivity. It's something that maybe a slightly younger audience than us would be a little more into as well. You finish your chapter, you make your page, you move on to the next one, sort of thing. So it doesn't necessarily work for us, but I can see there being an audience for that addition to it.
There's definitely an audience for it. I'm just definitely not that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love a narrative adventure like this. Whether it's a sort of a coming of age story, whether it's a bit of a mystery sort of story, that sort of stuff. That is definitely within my kind of wheelhouse at the moment of stories I want to experience. I just don't need all the I don't need the interactivity around it. And actually, it'd be quite nice if it was half the length, and it was just the narrative. And actually,
story?
I'm just like, I could just watch a Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I mean,
Yeah.
you definitely do have that character of like very thin interactive game that's like, did you just not get like no one wanted to buy your animated movie?
but potentially, yeah.
Right.
That's Kojima. Don't diss other, actual talented artists and game developers. Yeah, that's just Kojima.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. The thing I find interesting about there's a lot that's interesting about Dordogne, but it's actually a Focus Entertainment published game as well. They've got like an indie label now. It pops up at the beginning saying Focus Entertainment Indie or Focus Indie something. So interesting that they have sort of stepped into that space as well. But the reason I mention it is because whilst this is a Focus game, I'm going to try and find the email from them now. I actually got the code via Player 2, which is a PR agency. They have just come out with their own publishing label, essentially.
Oh, really?
Which I can't remember the name of. It's like Mooncat Games or something like that. There's email. It is Mooncat Games. There we go. So Player 2 are great. Great PR agency. They get a lot of lovely indie titles, so it's nice to see them branching into something else as well. And I think they have published a game that I previewed last year. I never remember the name. A long journey with a unfortunate end or something like that. I don't think that's quite what it's called. A long journey to an uncertain end. There we go. Just found
Yes.
from them.
Yes.
So yeah,
Rings a bell.
nice to see other people kind of within the space going, let's start to push some games a little bit more than we've been doing as well. So yeah, a nice little finisher for Dordogne, which is a fun little game. Which I think
On Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass.
That's how I'm playing it.
Oh, fair.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Okay. Do you often see Focus Home? No, not Focus Home anymore. Focus Interactive. No, Focus Entertainment there. Do you see their games a lot on Game Pass?
I'd have to remember what they published.
Plague Tale actually was Focus.
Yes, that was on there.
Yeah.
The first one and the second one.
Yeah. I'm not sure the second one was published by them because they had been bought out by Microsoft at that point. The studio, I think. Asobo.
Are they owned by Microsoft?
Maybe they're not. Maybe I'm making that up. Maybe I'm thinking of a different game.
I mean, it could be,
Oh no, I'm thinking
there's like
80%
80% chance that they are.
Maybe it's
There's
something.
80% chance that any studio has been bought.
I was going to say it's something to talk about later, but maybe we can just launch into it now, which is just Microsoft just reportedly, and then lots of the time kind of almost being debunked, reportedly just trying to buy every single studio in existence. Like reported this week, they tried to buy Sega, they tried to buy Supergiant. They're just hitting. There's IO as well. Trying to build their kind of portfolio. But like the guy from the Sega CEO's come out like, nah, that talk didn't happen. So maybe there was a strategy, and there was a document that went, we like this studio because of, we like this publisher because of. And it's kind of being a bit blown out of proportion, potentially.
But also, having worked in investment banking for a time back, 2 decades ago. Fucking Christ, I'm so old.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
I know.
I worked in investment banking 10 years ago. In 2003, I was a baby.
God. Sorry, I don't even know what I was saying. I clearly have dementia, can't remember. You do a lot of valuations, right? So like if I was in the acquisitions area of Microsoft, I'd literally have one of these reports for every major and middle-level studio.
Yeah.
So like if that gets leaked and it's like, oh yeah, no one approached us. It's like, okay, so they're doing their job because they're a big company who wants to acquire shit
That's every
because
company.
of capitalism.
But
Yeah, like that's just not a
big
thing.
company has a mergers and acquisitions division. You know, whose single jobs is to be like, oh, they look nice.
Mhm.
Go we go knock on their doors. So yeah, I mean, that's why it's like when I looked at. I mean, there's a lot coming out of this FTC trial. When I saw those articles, I was just like, I'm not even going to bother
of
click
course.
on this because it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
duh. You know what I mean? It's just like, of course. Yeah. It's interesting because, like, both, Sony, Microsoft, whatever. It's just like, are there ever going to be any homegrown teams anymore that have like of a reasonable size? Not like the Initiative, which is their perfect dart studio, which seems to be a mess. Like, are there going to be any like one? Because oh god, what was the stupid term that they used? Was it like quadruple A? They were describing the Initiative as, and it was like,
oh,
that's just dumb anyway. But it's like, are there going to be any like normal sized smaller teams that are just like, homegrown anymore?
Well,
that would be the way to, I think, go. Just like, got enough money, just do that.
Well,
like,
it's kind of what we were talking about a few weeks ago when you played Pentiment. And I can't remember which studio made Pentiment. The same one who made who made Grounded as well. And tons of other games. But the Pentiment is that more kind of middling kind of double A sort of game. And whether actually Microsoft's acquisition of Obsidian has allowed them to branch out that little bit. And whilst it's been a real, I think, struggle for Microsoft to get a bunch of games off the ground, whether they've cancelled projects, whether they've just said this needs more time, it's been a while, Ninja Theory, that's the one I was thinking about, who made Hellblade. Hellblade 2 is like 5 years now after the original game, so who knows if the scope of that and that sort of stuff is just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. But actually, dependent on the team size, there's probably lots of little games that they can kind of come out with, and especially owning someone now like Double Fine, who used to put out a ton of these level of games. We've just not seen very much of that, and I think there's definitely a bit of a missed trick that you're right, Lucy, that there's this kind of middle ground that is feels like it would be like that organic place to get lots of these kinds of games from.
Yeah. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush from those guys, the Evil Within guys.
Was it now? Anyone owned by Microsoft, the studio name is just gone.
Yeah,
it's just Microsoft now.
Yes, that Microsoft team, but that was a smaller game, like, but that's like I guess acquiring these teams and making them do different size projects. I'm more talking about like, why don't you start something a bit homegrown, grassroots, like just say we're hiring for this new little small AA studio at Microsoft and come over.
They'll have the reins to make a game.
Yeah, and I think
instead of like acquiring Supergiant.
Yeah, and again, I don't know whether it's necessary for them to say we're starting a new studio, more than Hi-Fi Rush Tango Gameworks, more than almost being able to go to any of their kind of studios, and almost as Sony have been able to do. There's been a lot of collaboration between their studios, either in terms of like game engines, people going over from studios to sort of talk about that and explain it, and teams kind of combining a little bit and that sort of stuff. That Microsoft have such a wealth of talent that they can go, cool, a producer from Game Studio X What resources do you need? Cool. The studio you work for don't have that right now because we have them doing this. But we can pull people from here, we can pull people from here, we can pull people from here. With remote working and all of this sort of stuff becoming so much more accessible over the last few years as well. And a lot of game studios just shifting to that anyway. It does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity. That it can't just be like, yeah, I've got a game, it'll take us a year to make. This is the pitch for it. And Xbox just going, yeah, cool, that sounds great. What do you need? Pull people from all over the shop to do this. This person is amazing at the kind of animation that you're looking for. We have them free at the moment. Let's bring them in. So, and just using the talent that they have kind of under the umbrella that they have to be able to do that, rather than almost seeing everything as very separate. It's like, oh, there's this game studio, there's this game studio, there's this game studio. It is very kind of, almost not competitive and things like that. But part of the FTC kind of reports that came out was that whatever his name is from Bethesda essentially was like, why do Activision Blizzard get to keep their games multi-platform? That wasn't the pitch that we got from Microsoft. Basically, they said that everything was going to be console exclusive after all of the timed exclusive deals we already have. Why? Why weren't we?
Because your games are broken.
Not as good as Activision.
Your games are broken. You can't manage it. You can't handle it. We're saving you from yourself. That's why. Oh,
not it wasn't Todd Howard. It was the other one. The other
Pete Hines.
Pete Hines. Yes, thank you. But interesting, super interesting that there's almost this bit of kind of competition, or at least the sense of studios are treated differently under the deals that they have, which isn't great, but it could be such a good incubator.
Well, you think Bethesda probably weren't heading in the right direction before they were acquired, so I'd be like, Microsoft would probably like, do you want to make games at all, or should we just let you go under making Evil Within 2 again or something like that? So, I'd be like, shut your mouth.
Yeah, make a multiplayer online Wolfenstein game. Sure, fuck things up for everybody.
Yeah. They could have just made Wolfenstein free.
Yeah, they could. Absolutely. Cool. Let's move on from Microsoft and FTC. Unless anyone's got anything else to input from kind of what's come out or...
Nah.
The revelations some of them are interesting, but a lot of it is just such mudslinging and it's just embarrassing from both sides. It's like, God's sake. Yeah. Jeez.
So whilst all of this has been going on, it has also been Steam Next Fest, which huge amount of demos for a lot of, not necessarily smaller games either. Lots of independent games, lots of independently developed and maybe slightly bigger publishers and self-published games that have had demos over the last week. Did anyone get to play any demos? Because I got to play a lot.
I downloaded a lot of them. I have not played any of them. So when they inevitably get taken off Steam, I'll launch into them and play them then. But no.
Did you play anything at all?
As I say, downloaded a hell of a lot, but didn't get around to playing any of them.
Okay, before I launch in a little bit more, is there anything you're looking forward to playing that you've downloaded?
Venba game. That looks cool.
What's that?
That's the cooking
game.
The
South Asian cooking game.
Yeah.
Right.
In Canada. Steam is taking forever to load.
It did that to me just now as well, actually.
Demo. Let me search for demo. Ooh, there's a lot of them. Lucy, how many demos did you download? Viewfinder, I played the demo like the last Steam Fest, so Gosh, what is it? Jusant.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking forward to playing that. But yeah, there's a ton here. Too many to go through.
That's fair.
I searched demo in my library and there's 95 games here. So
I assume a lot of those are older ones that maybe aren't available as well anymore. Yeah, fair.
Crime O'Clock. Yeah, that's one. That's
didn't
cool.
see that. Adel, did you delve into Steam Next Fest at all?
No.
Okay.
I'm weirdly. You would think with the needing of dopamine that my current mental state has that I'd have played games, and you would have been wrong.
Vampire Survivors. That'll get you through.
Yeah.
I'll get you through anything.
Yeah.
Salt Sea Chronicles, which is the Mutazione devs.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that one last week. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did buy a bike.
Oh, you bought one. How much was it?
A couple 300 something quid from the Newcastle recycle bike.
Nice. Would you go for a road bike, hybrid?
Like a hybrid. It's specialized. It's medium light frame. Has a bit of a rack that you could put things on storage. But it has the dual handlebars, so you have the brakes up front, but you have the street racing grip.
The horns.
And with the horns with both brakes and shifting. And we rode them back. We went back to Newcastle, rode them to the train station, trained to Durham, and rode them back. And I was like, yep, there's enough hills there. Originally, the plan was to ride back to Durham from Newcastle, which is like an hour ride, but it was so hot that... Ugh.
Yeah, fair.
I need to get mine serviced because...
but
mine's going in the bin. I'm going to get a new bike when I get paid in a few days' time. Definitely.
Nice.
Mm.
You're gonna.
I mean, I did bikes in Bristol because of the hills.
Durham
still has hills, but they're not nearly as bad. And like the rail paths around Durham are all flat because like Durham's the kind of hilly spot, but like the surrounding area, isn't so bad.
Nice. That's good. Bristol is incredibly hilly. But yeah, we as an employer we've signed up to the like cycle to work scheme, so I can get like a almost a quarter off, I think, of something.
Oh wow!
You just pay it back over a certain amount of time as well.
I'd need a rack for my car because there's no way I'm driving around these insane assholes who drive around here.
Oh yeah, I mean that like I said, it's really dependent on being in the right place. Like I've lived in the UK before I moved here. Right, I was in Amsterdam. I biked everywhere for 2 years. Moved to Bristol, and I was like, "This the affordable housing is downhill from the university." Nope. It's just never going to be a daily commute, right? Like those hills are so steep. It's not a thing that you get used to. It's not like getting used to hills. So I didn't, and then I finally moved and can.
Nice.
And like it has been years since I've been on a bike, and like when I moved to Amsterdam, I was like over a decade before the last time I had like ridden a bike, and I was like nervous, and then I rode it for 2 years. I'm like, oh, this is great. Test driving the bike I bought, I'm like not convinced I really loved it so much. It was like I forgot how much I liked being on a bike because I was like, yeah, this is great. I want to buy this.
It's been what 17 years or something since.
Wow.
What was that? Sorry.
Well, not since I learned how to drive, which was about 17 years ago. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I really loved it.
It's great. I mean, I like Bristol is a bit of a pain in the ass, but I commuted for about 6 years on a bike, up and down the hills and stuff, and it was it's fine. It kept me incredibly fit. And that is what I am chasing more and more as I age. So
I mean, that's the whole heart stuff.
Yep.
Also. Managing ADHD, not being able to take drugs until the heart stuff gets sorted. It's like I apparently
What
run
kind of
in
drugs?
cycle now. What the hell?
You got to have something to balance out all the beer. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Like I've lost over 20 pounds since I moved to
Yes.
Durham, right?
Yeah. You said, yeah.
So now that I don't have the amphetamines, I've just been shoveling food in my face. I hope to get it all back, right in the beer belly.
Good. Nice. Let's jump back on to the next Steam Next Fest. I think I mentioned I played a few games. All of them are kind of notable. I don't know whether that's because I just kind of picked the ones that I was drawn to anyway, rather than sort of trying out kind of almost everything. But some of the stuff I tried a little less notable. We'll breeze over those a little bit. The Invincible. It's a like a first-person adventure game. You're in space. There's some shit that's happened. I played a demo during the last fest. This is very similar. It's just a different point in the story. I'm sold on it. Absolutely. I didn't need to play this demo. It was a bit of a waste of time. It just uncovered more of the story that I would have just experienced when I played the game. The other one that I wasn't sold on was Land Above, Sea Below, which is almost similar to kind of Dorfromantik. I suppose landscape builder, a kind of puzzle game, and basically you place tiles next to each other, but the hook is that the sea level rises, so you have to constantly place kind of 3 tiles in an arc and 1 in between, and it will raise all of the land, and you're trying to build more and more. It does look very pretty. Yes, graphically it's very, very nice for a game which is doing quite little, but it didn't grab me very much. It was sort of like, cool, I've done this now, what's next? It's just more. It's that kind of high score chasing kind of game, just with a bit of a lack of progression. It was like forest. The sea level rises. Cool. Forest. Town. Forest. Town. The sea level rises. And like, oh, I've lost my towns because I didn't get enough of them. So
all of them drown.
Yeah, the progression wasn't quite there with it, but we'll see if that one builds up a little bit. And a game called Lysara, which is kind of like a city builder, but on a mountain. So you have very limited places to be able to build on. And the demo ends when you create a disaster and basically avalanche down the mountain, and it just destroys a bunch of your buildings. I'm like, fuck. Okay. So the idea is like conquer the mountain, essentially. But you know, there's some nice synergies between sort of the buildings that you're looking for, different caste systems of people that are there. So, like, I can't remember what they call them, but like workers and then artisans, and it kind of, that's the only 2 that you experience actually in the demo, but it kind of builds up. So there's more and more, and they have different kinds of buildings, and they need different requirements and that sort of stuff. So it feels like quite a fleshed out sort of game. You just didn't get a huge amount in the demo, just a little taste of it. And then a horror game called Luto, which was basically PT, and I moved through the environment very slowly. A phone rang, and I'm like, this is PT. And then you answer the phone, and it changes into a slightly different environment, which is much more spooky. And I'm like, nope, turning this one off. So I didn't play that for very long. I played that for all of 5 minutes before I'm like, nope, don't want this anymore, thank you. I want stuff that's just a lot more wholesome. So the ones that really stood out was Jusant, as we've sort of mentioned, the mountain climbing game. It's so fluid. The motion is so good. It just feels good to climb. And I don't know whether we've had any games which feel good to like climb in.
It's super hard to do because climbing is either like route because it's a ladder,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like it's dynamic, right? As a former climber, like how do you project that notion of I've made the choice of this route or I'm doing this like stretchy move when you have no bodily feedback, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and the only other way to do that is just like do the ladder type motion and maybe make it not the same distance between rungs, which is what usually games do, right? And it's just you don't get that feeling of ascent. You get the feeling of going up.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Jusant is there's lots of sort of sideways motion and changing between different kind of stuff to climb. Basically, you're on the mountain, you're on the rock face. There might be some sort of like cargo netting, which feels very different in how you actually kind of climb up it. But do you?
Oh, so there's like a tactile difference almost?
A little bit. But do you remember the game Grow Home, which was one of those Ubisoft indie games from a while ago, where you're basically tapping shoulder buttons, and one is the left hand and one is the right hand. Jusant does the same thing. So you have a button for each hand, and you hold L2, and your left hand holds, and you hold R2, and the right hand holds. So you can hold on and then lean with the left hand. So there's a lot of kind of like readjustment going on. So you're like, oh, I'm holding with my left hand, but I need to reach, so actually I need to come back and hold with the right and then lean across with the left. And going up a cargo net, I can just go bop, 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 and kind of move across it. Whereas when you've got different holds on the mountainside, it feels that little bit different. It just feels really good to play. The next one, which is Kingdom, 80s. It's a Kingdom game, which is out now, actually. I hadn't realised.
Yeah. I downloaded that demo. I was like, oh, what a smart idea.
Yeah.
Put in 80s. I hate that we always refer to Stranger Things now for anything 80s and kids like.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Goonies.
It's very Goonies. I mean, it is very Stranger Things. There's that kind of like film grain over the top of everything, but it takes that like VHS aesthetic to it, tracking the VHS kind of thing, where it's got all of the lines on it, and it's a little bit grainy and that sort of stuff. But there was there's a comic, and they produced only a single season run of a show called Paper Girls, and it very much feels like that, where it is an adventure game. You're all on your bikes. I don't know. There might be a little ET character that goes in a basket in the front. Who fucking knows? But it's a Kingdom game, just with an 80s kind of facelift
cool.
on it. But it is very cool. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which is a terrible name for the new game from Deconstruct Team. Interesting. But I don't know how far the mechanics will push the game along. You're making tarot cards, essentially, and then telling fortunes for people. And the story is kind of a little bit interesting in why you are in the space that you're in and trying to get out of that space and things. And you get to make the cards yourself. So you can pick a back to a card. You can pick the primary kind of elements that are on the card and then a secondary element that's on the cards, and actually move them all around and resize them and all sorts of things to make your own kind of card. So everyone will have different combinations and they will do different things and stuff. So there's a lot of variety to it in that sense, and my playthrough will be completely different to anyone else's, but it will follow, I think the story's going to follow the same kind of beats essentially as it sort of plays through. It just gives you a bit of variety in that. But worth playing the demo before maybe kind of like picking it up, because it won't be for everyone, definitely. I think maybe the biggest game that I played, but the one I'm sold the least on is Lies of P, which is...
I was wondering if you saw that.
Yeah, which is... who's it made by? It's basically NeoWiz. Yeah, I don't know who NeoWiz are. There's a bunch of games
on games
here.
I've never really heard of.
Yeah, Skull. I think I've heard of that. but that's probably the only one I have heard of. But it's a Dark Souls game with a bit of a steampunky kind of vibe to it. It's not maybe as in depth as something like Elden Ring. It's much more like Dark Souls. Tight corridors, smaller spaces, but it kind of maybe sits in between like a Dark Souls and a Bloodborne. So they've tried to make it a little bit more fluid, not quite as clunky as a Dark Souls game. There's only a couple of classes. You're always the same character, which is this kind of like Pinocchio-ish, steampunky kind of version.
You're like burying the lead where it's somehow a Souls-like Pinocchio story.
I mean, you look at the lad, you look at the main character, and he can like animate any bloke, can't he? Really?
Actually, hearing that.
Yeah.
No, but like that, the Lies of P is a thrilling Souls-like that takes the story of Pinocchio.
I know exactly what the game is.
The darkly elegant backdrop of the Belle Epoque era. I'm sorry, Souls-like Pinocchio is never gonna be.
Someone actually saying it out loud just makes me
It looks so self-serious, and it's called The Lies of P.
Yes.
And it's a Pinocchio game.
And it pops up like when you die. It pops up and says lie or die. And I'm like, I've just died. There was no way for me to lie. I'm just dead. I don't understand why you're telling me this.
Is it
his nose grow and then you get another chance to fight?
Is that the idea that like as the game progresses and you keep lying, you haven't died, but your nose is so long it's getting in the way, and like now things can attack you from 70 feet away because your nose is so long, and they just have to tap you.
It becomes just an incredible weapon, and you just knock everyone out just with a head bob constantly.
Yeah. That would be a good mechanic.
Yeah.
I
mean, it does that Dark Souls thing, and I don't think it's meant to do the Dark Souls thing because it restarted me at the start of the area. But all of the Dark Souls games, Elden Ring, everything from Software has always started you off and then taken you to a boss which basically kills you. And then the game starts proper. Lies of P takes you through an environment where the enemies are very easy to defeat. And then you get to the boss, which is very, very difficult. And you're like, cool, now the game will start proper. And all it did was just put me back at the start of the area. And I'm like, oh, am I meant to actually beat that boss?
Oh.
Am I missing something? Have I meant to progress as a character? Are there RPG elements to this? Am I leveling stuff up? And it just seems a little bit lacking in that sort of sense. Like it's more of an action game than an RPG potentially. So I don't know whether there is any like level progression or you just progress and the world progresses. Yeah, you get good and that's it. Everything is on par with you constantly through the game. I mean, it's like a visual feast, though, right? It looks fucking amazing. The lighting, the aesthetics, everything looks really fucking good. I mean, I'd just rather go back and play Elden Ring, I think, from the demo. So, yeah. If you enjoy Soulsborne games and you want another one, then sure.
Play a different build of Elden Ring?
Yeah, yeah.
Pinocchio
or wait for the inevitable PC mod of Pinocchio build.
Yeah.
Where you're the actual Disney Pinocchio just going around Elden Ring as
probably already.
Yeah.
If it didn't before this game got announced, it definitely has.
All of the enemies are Stromboli, and he just comes like Stromboli and just batter the shit out of him.
Or donkey Pinocchio, half donkey, half Pinocchio.
Which is interesting. In and of itself, Pinocchio being a puppet. How did he half turn into a donkey when it was boys? When it was real people turning into donkeys. How does the logic of that? It doesn't. It's a Disney film. Don't worry.
Well, he smoked a cigar, and that's naughty.
Yeah.
That's how he became a real boy, by doing real shit.
Yeah, real men stuff.
Yeah. Not even a boy. I'm a man now, motherfucker. I'm smoking cigars and shit. Fucking, if it wasn't a Disney film and it was, it could be an 18, they'd have been just pillaging, fucking raping through that town, kind of as they kind of wanted. You know that there's that. Isn't there a Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio film? Actually, thinking about it, that came out a couple of years ago.
I think there might be. That sounds
There was,
familiar.
yeah.
But when I watched that scene as a child, it just made the cigars like more appealing, though. You know what I mean? It was like, this looks fun. Who cares if I become a dog?
Is it? I never remember what the name of the not the law, but the kind of statute kind of is. But essentially, I assume that Pinocchio is such an old character now that anyone can do whatever they want with it. The kind of the rights to it kind of expire after like 70 years or something like that, don't they?
Well, Pinocchio was a story before Disney had it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. But I assume
that's been
Disney bought it and had the rights for a certain amount of time, for the maximum amount, and now anyone can kind of just make what they want with the characters and the story, essentially.
I mean, the same thing happened recently with Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
A.A. Milne's estate, like, the copyright expired, but the red top with no bottoms look is still under copyright because of the...
Oh, really?
They keep...
Naturalist.
Copyright...
Yeah.
So weirdly, the way the copyright works is like Winnie the Pooh's. I think it was either in the pandemic or shortly afterwards hit the fair use, open everything. But you couldn't make it look like the Disney one.
Right.
But then, let me see if I can find it out. But this obviously indie horror people.
Yes.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Horror slasher film, hour 24 minutes, 2023 release. An unforgettable cinematic adventure. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is a captivating film that takes the beloved characters and presents them in a whole new light.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not just...
The name is top.
Again, another thing that could just be called Lies of P.
Which
is, it's it's in the Lies of P
More
cinematic
Lies of Pooh
thing.
Than Lies of P.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think that's it for my my Steam Next Fest.
I just felt tired.
I did have Goodbye Volcano High downloaded as well, but I didn't manage to get to that. A game which has been kind of publicized quite a lot over the last year. Maybe it's been in a PlayStation State of Play. It's been in a couple of other stuff during E3 this year as well. Not E3 this year. But yeah, unfortunately didn't quite get to that one. But it
demo's
cool.
still up for that one.
Oh, is it? Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is good.
Cool. Maybe I will get to it in the next week or so then instead. But yeah, that's it. Should we roll back round to our beers then and finish out for the week?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. We'll come to you then first, Adam.
It was great. It was great when I first tried it. It was great when I finished trying it. Adele.
Good.
Trying it. It actually is one of those lovely beers that like was crisp at the top, had some interesting flavors, and by the end it was crisp and had, I think the maltiness got came out a little more as I got used to sort of the crisp zestiness, but not enough to make me not think that it's a cold IPA as per our earlier definition. It still was crisp. It was still zesty. It just got a little more of the maltiness, which was a welcome thing. I would, like I stand by what I said right away, which was I would definitely take a sixer of this to a party.
Nice. Good. Lucy, come to you for the day.
Yeah, same. It started out good, still supping on it slowly.
Nice. Okay.
It's just very very satisfying, very thirst quenching. Just what I like from mixed fermentation beers. Just that, very refreshing, like slightly vinous quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
A bit funky. A bit, like this earthy or the oaky character to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really well rounded. Like,
Mm.
as I say, I'm very surprised that just found it in a can. Like, don't often see Deya's mixed firm beers in anything other than like 750ml bottles selling for like 20 quid. So it's nice that I can get a little taste of it for much cheaper and just much more accessible.
Yeah.
Way. So yeah, it's. I wish they had put that it was a mixed firm on their can. Like they don't make any reference to that on the can.
Interesting
So
that they've not said anything about it.
Yeah, I hope they do more.
Yeah, I
Start
mean,
putting their
maybe.
mixed firm stuff in.
Yeah, maybe they're worried that it won't sell. Like a mixed firm in
Possibly.
a can wouldn't sell, so just don't,
Don't
tell
trick
anyone.
me, Deya.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right you trick me because I'll drink anything, but for the layman, maybe they're like, oh, I've heard about these IPAs. But yeah, it's not overly sour. It's like very much saison in quality. Where just great for this kind of weather. So
Nice, cool.
Yeah, really good.
Nice. For me, the Fierce and Noble, it opened up a little bit the more I drank, so the finish started to get a little bit more piney. There's maybe a little bit of a dank note to it, but I think that was more the fruity flavors kind of settling a little bit, and actually they were a little bit more ripe than that initial flavor kind of gave across. So a slight dank touch to it as well, but it just lacked that punch. And I think after finishing it, when I say if I saw this on tap I would probably pick it up, probably wouldn't, to be fair. It didn't quite do enough. It's fine. That's the best thing I can say about it. So I won't say anything else. If you, friend, have drank beers that you enjoy or played games or demos that you want to talk to us about, come to our Discord and chat to us, or get us at Tanked Up Cast, or you can go to outoflives.net as well to look at our beautiful faces and see the beers that we have been drinking. I think that's it. I'm not going to plug anything else. I can't be bothered tonight. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is.
Juicy Loose 9.
And Adel is.
At the Omniarch.
Come and chat to us.
Oh.
It's always nice. Yeah, go.
I'll just remind people that I have been guest hosting Glass Onion Minute. It's the minute-by-minute Glass Onion podcast. I did minutes 10 through 15, I think, and this next upcoming week, I think, are when minutes 46 through 50 are, which are the next chunk of weeks I did, because there's a rotation. Basically, it's Monday through Friday, 5 minutes, with the same host and guest pairing, and then there's like 7 hosts who cycle through.
Yep.
Or something like that. Surprising no one, I managed to talk with a person about a minute of a film for over 45 minutes every time. Everyone else seems to do 18 to 30 minutes. But my Friday episode raw recording was an hour and 8 minutes, which is a little more than the 45-minute topper that the guy who runs these minute-by-minute things instituted for this one, after getting me to host a couple of his previous ones. It was definitely an ideal topper, and I didn't stick to it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway, so at Glass Onion Men, if you want to hear my vague notions about what happens in Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Just thought I'd mention that, because next week is, I think, the next chunk.
Yeah, when are we doing a Poker Face one?
I need to watch Poker Face. So...
Watch it.
Yeah, I've heard really good. Both my guests on both sections were like, "You gotta watch Poker Face, my dude. You like Columbo."
It's so good. I mean, I love Natasha Lyonne, but if I swung the other way, I'd marry her. So she's great.
I've heard people talk about it being similar to Columbo, but they what someone told me was that actually you find out that she's kind of like she's actually been there the whole time. sort of thing, like seeing what's been going on. And actually, I'm like, is that more like Murder, She Wrote? Like Jessica Fletcher's there when shit actually happens. Columbo just kind of turns up and works it out, whereas Jessica Fletcher's like, oh no, I was here, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I know what's been going down.
I think is it like Columbo, because Columbo is one of the lovely ones where it starts with the murder, and so you know who did it, but you don't know why, and you don't know what will lead the detective that way. I don't know if that's what
maybe
thingy is.
Yeah, it's basically the murder first, and then figuring out how it was. So I guess it's a mix of both.
I mean, in a lot of other shows that Natasha Lyonne's done, she goes, so you instantly drawn to it with Columbo.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Perfect. It's one of those shows that's on a much more expensive service, so find it any way you can.
Do you think
friends.
I watched it on there? Do you think I watched it like 9 months ago? On there?
Yeah, find it how you can, friends.
I'll send you a link, friends.
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
It's a good place for us to finish this week. We condone nothing. Do what you want. The internet's a wild place. Actually, don't do what you want. We don't condemn everything. Be sensible at least. Oh dear, we've been tagged up. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net